Welcome back to the deep dive. Now, if you've ever been involved in business development, especially with those big complex proposals, you definitely know that feeling. It's like this grueling administrative marathon.
Oh, absolutely. Just managing the paperwork alone can feel like a full-time job.
Exactly. We're talking about the proposal process itself. It's this beast that's known for being painfully slow, super costly, and, well, often incredibly rigid, almost absurdly so. But the good news, really, is that this whole model seems to be finally undergoing a pretty major transformation.
Which is long overdue, I think most would agree.
Totally. So today, we're doing a deep dive into this big shift. We're moving from that traditional model, let's call it the old guard, Richard Shipley's 1972 Waterfall method.
Right.
And we're going to contrast that with the more dynamic, modern approach, the Agile proposal method. It's loosely based on the ideas from the 2001 Agile Software Development Manifesto.
And look, this isn't just some academic exercise about methodologies, is it? For business developers listening, this really hits the bottom line.
Right.
So our mission today is basically to look at the real impact. Specifically, how does switching to Agile affect your costs? And crucially, your win rates.
Oh.
And then we kind of need to zoom out, don't we? We have to connect this internal change, this evolution, to what's happening out there in the market, that huge accelerating trend of sales automation.
Ah, yes.
It's completely reshaping the direct-to-consumer or D2C buyer journey. So you need to understand not just how to write a better proposal, but also why the market is demanding it faster, much faster than ever before.
Okay, right. So let's unpack where we actually came from. It still kind of blows my mind that a process thought up over 50 years ago by Richard Shipley still dictates how huge organizations handle proposals.
It is pretty amazing, isn't it? Shipley's work back in '72, it definitely provided structure, and that was needed then, no doubt. It eventually led to APMP being founded. That's the Association of Proposal Management Professionals back in 1989. But the core idea of Waterfall, it's all about order, predictability. It's very strictly schedule-driven and strictly linear, step by step.
Which means, it starts with that formal kickoff meeting. You read the RFP specs, you lay out this super detailed production schedule, and then you assign out these work packages to various subject matter experts.
Right, the technical folks.
Yeah, who are now suddenly tasked with writing their sections, whether they're good writers or not.
And then, of course, come the famous or maybe infamous sequential review cycles. This is the bit that adds days, sometimes even weeks, to the whole process. You start with that initial draft review, the pink team. The goal there is usually just checking compliance, structure, did we cover all the required sections, basic stuff.
Then the technical experts, they spend ages integrating those comments. Then you get to the second draft review, the red team. That's where the consolidated inputs get evaluated, often looking at the actual strategic content, things like win themes.
Supposedly.
Right. And then finally, you've got the white glove review. That's the absolute final polish before you hit print or submit.
Looks good on paper, perhaps.
But, okay, if these steps are so regimented, so orderly, why does everyone describe Waterfall as this grueling waste of time and resources?
Well, because it's fixed and it's linear, like we said. The sources we looked at really point out two critical operational failures here. First, it just takes immense resources to run these separate, huge review cycles.
Right.
And the deadlines, often fixed, kind of arbitrary. They're not really tied to how the solution is actually evolving, just dates on a calendar.
Deadlines for deadline's sake.
Exactly. And second, and this is where the real inefficiency baits the actual value you get from those massive scheduled reviews, is often questionable.
How so?
Well, think about who the reviewers usually are. They're typically independent stakeholders, right? They might have zero connection to the actual prospect you're trying to win over, or even the solution you're proposing.
So they're just ticking boxes.
Pretty much. They add cost, they add time, but often they provide very little in terms of genuine, actionable insight that actually improves the proposal.
Okay, wait. If the red team, for instance, is often so ineffective, why are companies still so reliant on this, scheduled tradition? Is it just inertia, people doing what they've always done?
Mostly, yes. Inertia plays a huge part. And also maybe a sense of perceived liability management. They feel like they have to check that box, run that review. But think about it. If you mandate, say, a 4-week review cycle, you are spending thousands, maybe tens of thousands, on labor costs just pushing content through stages. It doesn't matter if the content is actually ready or if the reviewers even have anything useful to add.
Wow.
And that leads straight to that fundamental rigidity that Agile really aims to just completely dismantle.
Okay, so if Waterfall is slow, schedule-driven, often inefficient, let's talk about the modern fix, the Agile proposal method. It sounds like it's basically the philosophical opposite.
It really is. The shift in thinking is profound. Waterfall, remember, prioritizes hitting the schedule. Agile prioritizes nailing the solution.
Solution-driven, not schedule-driven.
Exactly. The Agile process is completely customer-focused. It starts with a baseline understanding of the solution, sure, but then it immediately focuses on identifying and closing what it calls a backlog of technical gaps.
A backlog, like in software development.
Precisely. The whole effort is about continuous gap closure. That makes it dynamic, not linear. You're constantly evolving the draft, refining it until the solution is perfect and you've addressed absolutely all the prospect's needs and questions.
And you mentioned this changes who's responsible for the content. That sounds huge.
Oh, it's a massive shift. Under Waterfall, you give the writing task to the technical expert, even if, let's be honest, their writing skills might be questionable.
Right. Engineers writing marketing copy, always fun.
Agile flips that completely. It emphasizes using expert writers, people who are professional communicators first and foremost.
Okay, so the writer isn't just editing.
No, they're driving it. The writer consults with the technical experts to gather the data to validate the solution, but the writer owns the prose, ensuring quality right from day one.
I see.
And they're the ones who are skilled at reusing similar content, boilerplate from previous wins, marketing materials to rapidly create that initial draft.
Which gets you started faster.
Much faster. And that first draft immediately highlights where the gaps are, so the team can start closing them right away. No waiting for a scheduled review down the line.
So this changes the leadership role too then.
Entirely.
Yeah.
In Waterfall, it's the proposal manager who leads, managing that administrative schedule. In Agile, the professional writer actually steps up and acts as the Scrum Master.
The writer as Scrum Master.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. The writer in that Scrum Master role prioritizes that backlog of gaps we talked about. They schedule specific, targeted reviews with the right experts, and crucially, they make the necessary draft changes immediately.
Right, then and there.
Compare that to the Waterfall manager, whose main job is often just monitoring progress toward a fixed, maybe arbitrary deadline. It's a very different focus.
Okay, shifting technical experts away from writing and more towards consulting on the content, that sounds fantastic for proposal quality. But how tough is that cultural shift, really, especially in maybe a highly technical or, say, a regulated industry?
Oh, it's definitely challenging, no question. But it's essential. And the mechanism Agile uses actually helps with that transition. The reviews themselves are functionally different.
How so?
Well, instead of those massive, often weeks-long pink or red team meetings with dozens of people,
Right.
you conduct targeted daily scrums. These are short calls, maybe 15 minutes, with only the necessary technical experts, and they are used specifically to close identified gaps in the backlog.
Laser focus.
Exactly. They're solution focused, not just progress monitoring chats. They talk for 15 minutes, they close a gap, figure out the solution detail, and then they move on. Done.
That structural change alone must be what delivers the efficiency gains.
Absolutely. And the measurable results, the ones cited in the source materials we looked at, they're the clear incentive for every business developer listening to really consider making this shift. Consistently, Agile methods lead to cycle times down, win rates up, and costs down.
Can't argue with that.
You save time, you save money, and you win more deals. It's pretty compelling.
It really is.
I mean, if you can achieve the same or even better quality assurance in maybe 1 week through this continuous gap closure, instead of 4 weeks tied up in sequential scheduled reviews, the cost savings in labor alone are just monumental.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's transition a bit. We've talked about the process, Waterfall versus Agile. Now let's focus on the final product itself. Because regardless of the methodology you use, the ultimate goal is winning the business.
Nice.
And to do that, the final proposal document has to satisfy what our sources call the 5 C's of a winning proposal.
The 5 C's.
The first 3 are really about foundational quality, getting the basics right. First, it must be clear. Simple language, logical structure, proper grammar, easy to read and understand.
Second, it needs to be concise. You're fighting against buyer fatigue, information overload. You have to simplify your offer, get straight to the point.
And how does Agile help here?
Well, think about it. By using those expert writers from the start, you immediately boost clarity and conciseness. You reduce the risk of getting dense, unreadable technobabble from an expert who isn't a trained writer.
Good point. Okay, third C. This one's a non-negotiable gate. Compliant. You absolutely must meet every single buyer specification, page length, font size, submission deadline, get it wrong, and you risk automatic disqualification. Out before you even start.
And this is another area where that Agile backlog of technical gaps is really beneficial. Compliance isn't treated as some final check. It's identified as a gap that needs closing early on. That initial draft gets measured against all the compliance criteria immediately. So you guarantee the structure, the format, everything meets the requirement right from day one, not as an afterthought.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So clear, concise, compliant. The final two C's seem more about strategy.
Exactly. Fourth is credible. You have to demonstrate convincingly that you can actually do what you're proposing, that you have the capability, the resources, the track record to successfully execute the contract.
Proof points, essentially.
Yes. And the fifth C, arguably the most strategic one, is compelling. This is where you really win hearts and minds.
Okay, what does compelling really mean in this context?
It means ensuring all your strategic elements truly resonate with the customer, your unique value proposition, or UVP, your key competitive differentiators, your win themes woven throughout. And, importantly, it also requires the effective use of ghosting themes.
Right, ghosting themes. We touched on that. For listeners who might not be familiar, what exactly are we ghosting? Who are we ghosting?
You're essentially ghosting your competition. A ghosting theme subtly highlights a weakness your competitor has, or maybe a specific risk associated with their approach, but crucially, without ever naming them directly. It's about framing the solution you are proposing as the clear, superior alternative that neatly avoids those pitfalls or weaknesses associated with other approaches. It's highly strategic, requires really deep customer understanding and competitive intelligence.
Got it. So nail the 5 C's, you win.
Hopefully. But winning is great. Consistency is even better. So after every single bid, win or lose, doesn't matter. You absolutely must conduct a post-award analysis.
Lessons learned.
Exactly. Your lessons learned session, your root cause analysis, what went right, what went wrong. This feedback loop ensures that the next iteration of your annual process gets even sharper, even more efficient. Continuous improvement.
Okay, great advice. Now let's pull back for that macro view again. Connect the pressure for proposal speed, which Agile delivers directly to the wider market dynamics. Why is this shift from rigid waterfall to dynamic Agile becoming so urgent for basically every business developer out there? You mentioned the automated sales frontier.
Exactly that. Corporations, large and small, are rapidly automating the entire sales journey, from that initial customer activation right through to the final conversion. And often, they're removing the human salesperson from large parts of that process entirely.
Wow. Driven by tech.
Completely driven by technology. I mean, just think about e-commerce and m-commerce, mobile commerce. These platforms deliver huge efficiency gains, faster transactions, much less friction for the prospect. It's all about speed and convenience in purchasing.
And you're saying that expectation is bleeding over from consumer buying into the B2B and even B2G space?
Absolutely. Buyer expectations are being reset everywhere. We're even seeing this trend accelerate in social commerce. Prospects can now research, engage, and sometimes self-navigate their entire purchase journey right within a social media platform. The buyer is taking near total control of the pace and the process.
That's a profound shift towards self-service. Is there data backing this up?
Oh, definitely. The sources highlighted a key 2021 McKinsey study, and it found that buyers, overwhelmingly, now prefer an online self-navigated journey, that direct-to-consumer or D2C model, over the traditional face-to-face sales interactions that really dominated business for decades.
Overwhelmingly prefer it. Wow.
It really points to a massive change in preference. And this raises the critical strategic question for everyone listening. If buyers can purchase complex consumer goods, cars even, almost instantaneously online, they now expect procurement, B2B engagement, proposals, everything to move with similar speed and clarity. If the market is demanding instantaneous, self-navigated purchasing, your internal proposal process simply cannot afford to be stuck in a slow, linear 1972 model.
Yeah, it just won't cut it anymore.
The speed and clarity expectations of this automated market absolutely demand the efficiency and responsiveness you get from Agile.
That really is the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? The market demands speed, And your internal process, your proposal engine, needs to deliver it. Okay, let's crystallize this. Let's make sure everyone walks away with the top 3 insights from our deep dive today.
Sounds good. Takeaway number 1 has to be about methodology. The fundamental shift you need for both efficiency and quality is moving away from schedule-driven proposal management, that rigid waterfall approach, towards the solution-driven gap closure model of Agile.
And remember the benefits.
Absolutely. Remember those measurable benefits cited? Costs go down, cycle time goes down, and win rates go up. Hard to argue with that combo.
Definitely not. Okay, takeaway number 2 focuses on leadership. Propose's success, more and more, relies on empowering those expert writers to take the lead, acting as scrum masters. We really have to move away from forcing technical experts who might not be great writers to produce the core content. Instead, empower the professional writers to drive content development, manage the consultation process, and ensure that clarity and conciseness right from the very start.
Well said. And finally, takeaway number 3 is all about that market trend. The global buyer preference is shifting dramatically towards online self-navigation and D2C. That 2021 McKinsey data really cements this reality.
It's not speculation, it's fact.
Exactly. So proposal teams simply must adapt their internal speed, their clarity, their responsiveness to meet the non-negotiable demands of this increasingly automated, fast-paced market.
Adapt or risk becoming irrelevant.
Yeah.
So we want to leave you, our listeners, with this final, maybe provocative thought to chew on. If buyers already prefer automating their entire purchase journey and they value speed and self-service above almost everything else, then how quickly must our own internal proposal and development processes, whether they're agile or, heaven forbid, still stuck in waterfall, how quickly must they evolve just to keep pace with the market's absolutely insatiable desire for speed and self-service?
That really is the multi-million-dollar question that should be driving every single business developer's strategy right now.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into transforming the way you build proposals and win business. We'll catch you next time.